Stamped in the brain, expedited. Stamped in the brain, expedited. Shipped to the location you read wrong. Well, your story was when the vision was better. Expedited. Shipped to the location you read wrong. Well, she read many stories when the vision was better for the set. It was a non-confident tone that was too low for the comprehend. Taking the logical comprehending the ways that she was never the ways that you're familiar without that either. I demand something of someone different than I created for the goals and doubts. People have wept and weeped so long for the sequel of the shame for the lovely instead of putting in the essence in front of the ancient of the compliments of the guard for the never finished. Started talking about for the overmeals of the process food. Take out for the it's the same scene like how it takes in which I gotta keep it when you find a total of time. Regenerate that. No dark place for missing the summer. Reference checks and points of the registration to be tagged without that code. Not that one, I just proceed with that note. No life in the dead, so the reason. It's a little pedal street.
Glad you made it, but who's made it? For the stoking, for the who's made it, for the mind, for the who made of that, for the name, and we married enough for the maiden, for the last to find that, for the first true Madison, for the empty square root, for the garden, for even there, for the doubt, for self longer, for who she came. Short, miscontorted for the proportion. Poor for the adoption, the options, and operations, for the alleviated, for the alleviated, for the odds, for the dilated, for the heart, for the alleviated, for the alleviated, the pain, for the treasure box and treasures. Her chest. Boxed in, chastised, dehydrated, baptized, and wrapped in no limits, no captions, the rising of the morns of this day for yesterday's jesters. As you had that investment for the investing in destroying the future, like testing, testifying the birth of the days and earth, and dirt, blood, leads to the heaven for the Holy Spirit from the ground up. You set aside to die for that life for the sacrifice who was scared, that's sacred Father. Gender pronoun. Find that pronounced identified, locking announcements, tantalized crowd for the aroused, arrogant, for the negligent tangents, and that gents with a yet in the womb, like a even like at the beginning of the alphabet, not an alphabet. Yet obviously split the Vedas and summer seasons. He disappeared. We wept for the lazy prayers of what we superhero. Action big set. Shepherd's eyes and met to match the mates for the internet for what we caught by the inmates and were restricted for the no master deviating the dead and depressed. Recess and receiving to invested in ventures. You enter an add-on to the addictions of gibberish. Who describes dictionaries of the adjectives. Direct deposition for the dictated, for the described to be farm raised pharmaceuticals and able to surely suitable enough step addressing the denoted for the denominations, the dominant for the doorman for the duration of it was adorable enough for the deplorable for word reputable, repudiated, surprised for the pressings of seating for the leaderships and stinking even leaky leaks and leaky lie for this litigating for the spies and spines and spectators and specifically specified for the crusading for the crucified crusty lies and breasts and rooms and shit. Your chest, the fake breast and mate. Up to the admitting the ability for the Romney antonyms, anomalies of the only breath of heaven. Why you find the exhale for the free willy, for the dental care, for the free willy market, for the willy what you will, for the critical balance. Be circulated and circulated for the circular system of the rhythm. What do we have? Christian playing the DJ set. For this was on the template of sin, for the insinuated, for the intermittent food for thought. We waited for the understanding of the weight. It was lost to be found in Olive Gardens of Eden, for the applying at the Applebee's and pollinated for the in-name interpretation, for the fulfilling of the spirit, for the mystical timelines and timeouts. Truth in your historical oracles and history, only version of nutrition, the alphabetical alpha and omegas and the beef created by the enriched poor quality for the poetry, like baby back Buddha booties, and willing to symbolism the Siddhartha, having heart for the vows and the Buddha. Best in the dying the sanctuaries that inspire the spirit into unto make the salam salat alone and not alone offering of the benevolence in the dawn of violence and not for the criminally act but the template we eat for the historic for the best store. Yes, be told in the between meals of the righteousness and the illiterate for the who are well fed with the mean man manipulation for the population control lies that for truly standing outside of the lines of space and time but those who won't watch stop or stop or tell time to stop watch the words to eat to digest the gestures in case the heart burns for the world's biggest heart for the blade above for that below for the bell for the foul play for the plagiarism for the kingship for the imperialism for the personality for the NATO ego judge ego's day for the OJ for the bluebird for the tongue play for the rest of the behind bar for the 369s and institutionalized illuminations and anomalies and the converting deities to the contractions for this really low real located for the real estate for the regate for the chemicals in your plan be penetrated for the labor for the stereotypically invaded for the jaded for the mediocre medicated for the dictations that would listen to the infinity galaxy the father fantasies impregnated for the vacancy for the air fancy erode insinuated intermittent food for thought. We waited to be understanding the weight, for that was lost to be found in Olive Gardens of Eden for the only interpretation for the fulfilling of the spirit for the mystical timelines and timeline. We waited to be understanding the history, the only version of nutrition, the alphabetical alpha, the omegas for the omens and the omen ribs to cage those the brief, created by the enriched poor quality for the poetry. Baby back at the Buddha Buddhas and honest symbolism for the Siddhartha having hurt the heart, the vows of Buddha. Dying for the sanctuary for the inspired, the spirits with alone and out for the lone, offering for the benevolence.
resourceful with plenty fish in the God sees that share. I'm glad you made it, but who's made it? For the stoking, for the who's made it, for the mind, for the who made up that, for the name and been married enough, for the maiden, for the last to find that, for the first true medicine, for the it was a square root, for the garden, but even there for the doubt, for self longer, the who she came. Short, miscontorted for the proportion. Poor for the adoption of options and operations imperative. Aggravated for the alleviated, for the odds was dilated enough for the heart to be considered amputated, for the alleviating the pain, for the treasure box of treasures. Her chest, boxed in, chastised, dehydrated, baptized, and raptured with no limits and no captures to the arising in the mornings and this is the day for the yesterday's gestures. Unless you have that investment for the investing and destroying the future like testicles and testifying the birth of the days of the earth and the dirt dung. Mud least and evident for the Holy Spirit from the ground up. You set aside to die for that life and sacrifice who scared that stage sacred Father. Who robbed that gender pronoun. Who find that pronounced unidentifiable for the lack of announcements and tantalized crowd for the aroused arrogant for the negligent tangents and that gentleman yet in the womb like an egg. Woman like a beginning of the alphabet, not an alpha yet. Yet Iverson split the betas and summer supreme supermarket sweeper weeping what we wept for the lazy prayers and what we superhero moving biblical action figure set for the day he wept while you slept counting the sheep to sleep. Shepherd's eyes and met to match the mate to the internet from what we caught by the inmates and were restricted for the mating no master to getting the death for the deprivation depressed. Recessions recently recessed and receiving to invested in ventures. You can be. You can be. You can be. You can be on your high horse. You can be resourceful with the plenty fish in the God sees that share. I'm glad you made it, but who's made it? For the stoking, for the who's made it, for the mind, for the who made up that, for the name and been married enough, for the maiden, for the last to find that, for the first true medicine, for the it was a square root, for the garden, but even there for the doubt, for self longer, for who she came. Short, miscontorted for the proportion. Poor for the adoption of options and operations imperative. Aggravated for the alleviated, for the odds was dilated enough for the heart to be considered amputated, for the alleviating the pain, for the treasure box of treasures. Her chest, boxed in, chastised, dehydrated, baptized, and raptured with no limits and no captures to the arising in the mornings and this is the day for the yesterday's gestures. Unless you have that investment for the invested in destroying the future like testicles and testifying the birth of the days of the earth and the dirt dung. Mud least and evident for the Holy Spirit from the ground up. You set aside to die for that life and sacrifice who's scared that escapes with the sacred Father. Who robbed that gender pronoun. Who find that pronounced unidentifiable for the lack of announcements and tantalized crowd for the aroused arrogant for the negligent tangents and that gentleman yet in the womb like a head. Woman like at the beginning of the alphabet, not an alpha yet. Yet Iverson split the betas and summer supreme supermarket sweeper we wept for the lazy prayers and what we superhero moving biblical action figure set for the day he wept while you slept counting the sheep to sleep. Shepherd's eyes and met to match the mate to the internet from what we caught by the inmates and were restricted for the mating no master to getting the death for the deprivation depressed. Recession recently recessed and receiving to invested in ventures. You ended up in an add-on to the addictions and addictions of jurisdictions and Jerry's Dicks who describes dictionaries of the adjectives. Direct apposition for the dictator, for the described to be foreign raised pharmaceuticals, and it was surely suitable enough for it to be dressed up, addressing the denouncing and denoted for the denominations is dominant for the domain, doorman. Doorman for the duration or the heart for the it was adorable enough for the deplorable for where you reputable, repudiated, surprised and suppressed and seceding for the leadership.
I'm a slave to the night, and it keeps me from seeing too much. Watching blue sky in the evening as we're trying to rise. Maybe tonight I'll look for you. Shaking your head, saying I'll stop all the time.
What do we have? Christian playing a DJ set. For this was on the template of sin. For the insinuated, for the intermittent food for thought. We waited for the understanding of the weight. It was lost to be found in Olive Gardens of Eden. For the applying at the Applebee's and pollinated. For the in-name interpretation. For the fulfilling of the spirit from the physical timelines and timeouts. Truth in your historical oracles and history, only version of nutrition, the alphabetical alpha and omegas and omens and without the ribbed cage. The beef created by the enriched poor quality for the poetry, like baby back booties and willing to symbolism of Siddhartha. Having heart for the vows and the ruler. Deaths and the dying and sanctuaries that inspire the spirit into unto make the salam salat alone, do not alone. Offering of the benevolence and the non-violence, and not for the criminally act for the temple. Template be eat for the historic for the best story. Yes, be told, but in between meals of the righteousness and the illiterate for the who are well fed with the meaning. Man manipulation for the population control lies that for truly standing outside of the lines of space and time to those who won't watch stop. Or stop or tell the time to stop, watch the words to eat to digest the gestures in case the heart burns. The world's biggest heart for the play above, the that below, we live the bell for the foul play, for the patriots, for the kingship, for the imperialism, for the personality, for the NATO ego. Judge Ito's day for the OJ, for the OJs. Bluebird for the tongue play, for the rest of behind bar, for the 369s and institutionalized Zulu nations and anomalies and the converted deities to the contractions. You look like that for this really, really low, real located for the real estate, for the regates and the temples and your penal glands, for the can't be penetrated, for the label of the terrorists. Invaded for the jaded, for the mediocre. Medicated for the dictations that web the internet, the series of the goalies and the divining the galaxy, the folly fantasies, and impregnated for the vacancy to be aired. Fancy, eroded, salty, currency, dependency, dependent, like you, the donkey for the air, dependent. Making an ass out of you for the YouTube, for the where I am, for the remedies and the maintaining, for the suntan that we oil up the dry bones, for the illusion, for the conclusions to be deterred by the undetermined, for the ignorant, mind determined, for the said was ran too high. Shut the joint in that ligament for the mention, the man for the dimension, for the comments in your, for the fencing, the borderlines in your, the grids of religion, for the relying on others. Intelligence and obesity, obedience and allegiance, and alignment to the atonement, monopolize the capital, the punishment for the poverty poets and series of sightseeing the blind. I was in the rhythm of spirit, forgive me for the supplements of the supreme body and daily bread. What do we have?
Playing the DJ set. This was on an intent for the sin, for the insinuated, for the intermittent food for thought. We waited for the understanding of the weight. It was lost to be found in Olive Gardens to eat, for the applying at the Applebee's and pollinated for the getting interpretation, for the fulfilling in the spirit from the mystical timelines and timeouts. In your historical oracles and history only version of the alphabetical alpha and omegas and omens and without the rib to cage. Being created by the enriched poor quality for the poetry like Baby Black, willing to symbolize the St. Arthur, having heart for the vows and unruly, best in the dying to sanctuary that inspired the spirit into to make the salam salat alone, do not alone offering of the benevolence and the non-violence and not for the criminally active in the temple that we eat for the historic for the best dough. Yes, be told in between meals of the righteousness and the illiterate for the who are well fed with the meat. Man manipulation for the population control lies that for standing outside of the lines of space and time, but those who won't watch stop. Stop or tell time to stop, watch the words to eat to digest the gestures. In case the heart burns, the world's biggest heart for the play above, for that below, we live the bell for the foul play, for the patriotism, for the kingship, for the imperialism, for the personality, for the NATO ego. Judge Ito's day for the OJ, for the OJs. Bluebird for the tongue play, for the rest of behind bar, for the 369s and institutionalized nations and anomalies and the converted deities and the contractions. You look like that for this would be the really low real located for the real estate, for the big gates and the temples and your penal glands, for the can't be penetrated for the label of the terrorists. Invaded for the jaded, for the mediocre. Medicated for the dictations that web the internet. Series of the goalies and the divining the galaxy and folly fantasies and impregnated for the vacancy to be aired. Fancy, eroded, salty, currency, dependency, dependent, like you, donkey for the air, making an ass out of you, YouTube for the where I am, for the remedies and the remaining maintaining, for the suntan that we oil up the dry bones, for the illusions, for the conclusions to be deterred by the undetermined, for the ignorant, mind determined, for the said was ran too high. Shut the joint in that ligament for the mention, the man for the dimension, for the comments in your, for the fencing, your borderlines in your, grids of religion, for the relying on others, intelligence and obesity. Obedience and allegiance and alignment to the atonement, monopolize the capital, punishment for the poverty poets and series of sightseeing the blind. I was in the rhythm of spirit, forgetting for the supplements of the supreme body and daily bread.
was like, I'm not fucking with you. Come around the block, nigga. I'm around the block.
Nah, somebody else called me and was like, your friend is down the street, injured.
I was like,
And I was like, wait.
somebody else called this shit.
Somebody else called me, yeah. Because I'm waiting on the dude to come back. And he didn't come back, so I was like, all right, man. Then I get the phone call from playing. It was ran down to this dude's leg is way, just like, he didn't, yo, I'm cool, man, I'm cool. Hey, man, I'm so sorry, man, I'm so sorry, man. Your leg off.
I'm working with a whole apparatus from my joint.
Surgery, everything.
I thought we got no cash, the homies gonna sign up on, bro. I was like, man, I'm just gonna line green with a dope. Nah, but
Don't even remind me of that.
I was like, baby, yo. But nah, that's cool. We got budget trip. My auntie, my auntie's working at, Mandalay Bay, so I was over there with it best and work, sports book and shit. Come off the Warriors. $7,500 those days.
Here's Nicholas.
Oh shit.
Here's Carol. Look at
Oh shit.
It's been a long time.
I was so like confused. There was all kind of emotions that day. I was like mad, but then I was like concerned and
I was so scared. Like, yo, I remember vividly. He's like,
Damn.
Tricky. I was like, oh god. You know, I was like,
that's why I was all kind of feelings.
I didn't even
I was like trying to back you up, but then trying to pick up the drone and get it out the way. It was all
Jack me over there, just take me over there. I'm like, damn.
You already got
yo
It's
man,
funny though, those
yo
times,
man, I just my bad man. I shouldn't have did it. Man. I shouldn't have went. I shouldn't have went.
I still pay the food though, baby. Pay the food.
I appreciate it.
This is my mentor chef. Like our friendship started on food.
Got to.
No, that's
It was a
like-
couple. I mean, somebody else hit me too.